Thank you very much for the invitation to present today. So my name is Andrew Bate. I am Head of Safety Innovation. So I'm at GSK, and my day job is to do scientific innovation to try and strive to ever better come up with capabilities that will enhance our ability to monitor the safety of medicines and vaccines. I was previously at Pfizer. Obviously, this is my own perspectives on some innovation, and I've got some academic affiliations. So today, what I wanted to talk about was give you a flavour of an experiment we recently completed that we thought was kind of interesting. And it's around uses of digital to advance our ability to get the key safety information we need to know to try and do ever better in how we do patient safety. And one of the challenges in patient safety, as we monitor routine use of medicines and vaccines, all of our medicines and vaccines in routine healthcare, is getting high quality data in for actionable insights. And that's the problem that many of our projects focus on, and I want to talk a bit about today. I know most of you are not going to be familiar with the application area, so I just want to give you a really quick minute or two summary of where we are in terms of how we think about ensuring the safety of our medicines and vaccines. And in particular, one aspect of it. So I'm not going to talk about epidemiologic studies that we do when we know of a potential safety issue to better understand it, understand at-risk populations, rates of evaluation. I'm going to focus on the problem of so-called signal detection. And this is, how do we, as an industry, and as regulators the same, think about monitoring routine use of our medicines and vaccines once they're in healthcare delivery. Now, we do everything we can, obviously, to maximally understand benefit and risk at the time of product launch, but real world use, patients use medicines different to how they're prescribed in infinite number of combinations of interactions, and used far more widely, obviously, than they can possibly be tested in clinical trials. So very, very hyper rare adverse events, as we discovered with COVID vaccines, can only be identified during post-marketing surveillance. So it's a critically important activity for pharmaceutical companies. At its cornerstone, we use what's called spontaneous reports, which at its heart is anybody, anywhere on the planet, basically can identify that they suspect they had an adverse event to the product that they took, the therapy, the vaccine, and they can report through the healthcare professional, or as consumers they can report. In the US, we use FAERS and VAERS of the public FDA databases, and then individual companies have their own databases, which we analyze and have responsibilities around identifying safety issues and sharing data with regulators, etc. The problem is these are suspicions. So we don't know if there actually were an adverse drug reaction or adverse vaccine reaction causally, and we have to try and look for patterns in the data to identify what's an emerging issue, and we don't know what would have happened if the patient hadn't taken it, and we don't get enough data always. These are the state of the art for identifying emerging safety issues. So what's the problem with these things? Well as we don't know how many patients took the drug or what would have happened to them otherwise, we know that a lot of these suspicions don't come in. For example, 94% underreporting. We know when they do come in, often the key information is missing when they come in. When we ask for further questions to get more insights, we rarely get more information, and not the information that's most important. And often it takes a long time. So the challenge is we often have to make decisions based on lower quality data than we would like, and it's delayed. You can ask for complete reporting, and it's been done many times in the past. Then you get less reports come in. You can try and encourage reporting to come in, and then maybe you get less data. What's the answer? We need more effective ways to leverage electronic tools to collect data during routine care of patients. This is broadly, but this quote from Scott Gottlieb very much applies to pharmacovigilance and the surveillance of medicines and vaccines approved after launch. So what do we try and do? We try to demonstrate we could use an EHR and near real-time bi-directional communication at the point of care to get better information, both what came in initially, which has been done before, but to get data in, react to it, use pharmacovigilance expertise to ask the questions that only the real professionals, a regulator or a company, could even think to ask those key targeted questions. So not to bombard the healthcare professional with questions, but to ask the key questions that wouldn't have been asked otherwise faster than ever before. That was the plan. Rapid exchange of information with a hopeful aim of getting far better quality data than we would otherwise in a robust, actionable insights, all done with privacy preserving, careful. We had a trusted third party so that we, the pharmaceutical company, were not engaging directly with a healthcare professional, etc., etc. So large US-based EHR, a few drugs. I won't go into all the details of which ones we selected. We focused on well-characterized adverse events for this first-in-class proof of concept. Consent, obviously, automated script to identify trigger events, potential adverse events, then two-way interactions. Initial information came in, asking follow-up questions, and then collecting more, all through a trusted third party and obviously IRB review, etc. We considered the interaction complete of the final HCP response. This is just one example, and I'm not going to get into the detail in 10 minutes, but obviously I'm happy to share more details of the study, and we're looking to publish it right now. So there was a question, a patient, and this is the full interaction verbatim that happened here. What are the other, so a report of a bleed. We were trying to understand what role the product may or may not have had. So we're asking, when was the last dose? You can see in question A2. And then this 17 days was the answer to our initial questions. Patient has a history of thrombophlebitis of the intracerebral sinuses, and she's had spontaneous bleeds in the past. So has the patient had a recent fall? So is there an alternative explanation? And back came the answer, not in the area of the bleed. Again, you can see how that would increase our suspicion that there may be a causal relation between the exposure and the adverse event. Now, we only got a few examples, but we were able to show through this study that ran for several months that we could do it, that it did work. Quality and timeliness of AE data was clearly superior to anything we see routinely, despite in total numbers less interactions than we hoped for. However, we're looking at roughly a 97% time saving versus current standard process, we think, and the interactions were better for full assessment. We enabled the collection of information and showed this is not the sort of information we would typically get, as well as get this targeted questions, tailored follow-up capability, and therefore reduce burden to healthcare professionals by only asking the questions that we really need to know answers to in the context of a surveillance system. Because obviously, for example, if a well-known adverse event like a warfarin bleed comes in, very little information will make us understand warfarin on a population level better than we already do. It would just be more information on that one patient, which is very, very sad, but will be after the healthcare intervention, so we can't help. So focusing on the emerging safety issues, focusing on the issues that are most important for furthering our understanding of benefit risk. Question marks about generalizability. Obviously, it was a first-in-class pilot with very small numbers. But I think this is an exciting opportunity to progress capabilities and how we get the information we most need for post-marketing surveillance. Thank you for your time.